the Radio Forest Podcast.
Hey, Forrest. I'm sitting inside the museum right now in Cleveland, Ohio. We announced our new nominees. It's a group of 17. 10 of them have been nominated before, and 7 of them are first-timers. You want me to read the list, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Beck, Pat Benatar, Kate Bush, Devo, Duran Duran, Eminem, The Eurythmics, Judas Priest, Fela Kuti, the MC5, the New York Dolls, Dolly Parton, Rage Against the Machine, Lionel Richie, Carly Simon, A Tribe Called Quest, and Dionne Warwick.
These are the possibilities that will go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland later this year. So from this point forward, how do you narrow it down to who goes in and the fan vote?
So first and foremost, these 17, there's a ballot that gets mailed out, old school, to all of the other inductees. The members of Metallica get ballots. Bruce Springsteen gets a ballot. Carole King gets a ballot. James Taylor gets a ballot, as well as some writers and historians and others. That ends up being about 1,000 ballots. They go out. When they come back, we tally up the top 5 vote getters are elected to the Hall of Fame. Now, the fan vote is live right now. It goes up until April. The fan vote gets compiled, and it comprises composite ballot that is entered into the grand total. So it's a chance for fans to provide, their voice and their direction. Some of the voters look and see how the fan vote is tracking, and it may influence them when they're picking their 4th or 5th pick on the ballot. We don't want to misrepresent that this is a popularity contest. It's not. It should be looking at artistic merit and creativity, but the fan vote is a fun way to engage people and for them to have a voice in the process and be part of it.
I think 2 years ago, no ceremony. The recent one with the Foo Fighters, there was a ceremony. I know it's a ways off and we don't know with everything that's been happening, but are you still planning on having an in-person induction ceremony?
Yes, that is the plan. It will be in the fall. We'll announce the dates and location later on this spring, but that is the plan. And it was a blast last October. We had an indoor basketball arena. We had, the usual health and safety protocols that you need these days, but we had a sold-out show, and it raised the roof. It ended with the Foo Fighters backing Paul McCartney singing Get Back to a raucous crowd on their feet. It was a great night.
Did you watch that documentary, The Beatles? What did you think of that?
You know what? I watched it, and I loved it, and I'm glad you mentioned that because we've been working with the Beatles, with Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Yoko, for the estate of John Lennon and George Harrison's estate, as well as Apple Music and Apple Corp Limited, I guess is the official name, and the filmmaker. And we're going to install a featured exhibit at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on March 18th that's all based on that docuseries. You're going to feel like you're on the rooftop with the band. You will be seeing the drum kit Ringo played on the roof, John's guitar from the roof, the clothing they wore, film footage from the moment, as well as in the studio. It's going to be massive. Come on out and check it out.
I assume then there's some sort of budget to purchase or at least work out deals to get things into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Is everything bought? I assume some of it is donated. Is anything just kind of like, you can keep this guitar for like a couple of years and we're going to want it back? How do you navigate through all of that and what's being displayed versus what's being stored? Does it cycle through? When there's something like Black History Month, different exhibits come out. How does that work out?
So we're a massive museum. We're 120,000 square feet, much like any big history museum or art museum. And of the, the few thousand artifacts on display, clothing, guitars, pianos, drums, we own most of them, but many of the best things are on loan from the artist. The John Lennon guitar is on loan to us from his estate. And we don't purchase. We own most of our collection. That has all been donated to us. We can't really compete in the collector's market, and artists want to be part of the museum, so they donate.
Let me get your thoughts on this whole Neil Young, Joe Rogan thing. I've noticed something online where some people are like, I didn't realize Neil Young was that popular, or if Neil Young thinks he's going to beat Joe Rogan, he's mistaken. And I kind of feel like I understand the amount of plays and downloads, of somebody like Neil Young versus the biggest podcast in the world. But I feel like a little bit people are forgetting the impact of Neil Young, the hit songs he had. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's the godfather of grunge. I know he's inducted other people into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Can you just comment on that real quick on your view of Neil Young and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Well, Neil Young is massive. He's massive for Buffalo Springfield. He's massive for Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and he's massive for Neil Young as Neil Young, right?
Yeah.
You ask many music fans, general fans, after the Gold Rush is one of their tops, Harvest is one of their tops. Amazing, amazing career, still making great music, still writing original stuff. And you know what? Still leading with his beliefs, his ethics, and his heart. So for him to take this stance, not surprising. It's in keeping with who he's been for his entire career. That's Neil Young. You asked me to comment about him. He's pretty remarkable. And then I'll also add, I've got a great memory of Neil Young being on stage jamming with Chrissie Hynde in The Pretenders. Neil Young touring and bringing younger bands along to back him and really connecting generations. He is not one that's simply looking at the past. Forward thinker, and he's true to who he is.
It's Greg Harris. He's the president and CEO of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We just announced the nominees for 2022. He's also worked with the Baseball Hall of Fame in the past. And Greg, I know we've talked about this before, your love for classic motorcycles. So you've got the Rock Hall, you've got the baseball history, you've got old motorcycles. What's the connection with history that gets you excited and captivates your personality?
You know what? I think that it's I love that these things connect all of us, right? That we all can stand and celebrate the same songs that inspired us at different times in our life, and it goes across the generations. And then I love the connections. To know that there's a song by Eddie Cochran that's also played by The Clash, that's also played by bands today, and there's a connection there. So, I don't know, I guess you asked a deep question, Forrest.
Sure.
I just like stuff that's real, and everything you named is authentic. That's the beauty of a car that you need to pull the choke to get it started, or a tractor, and the sound of a telly that's sitting behind me here. To me, that's all authentic, and it's great stuff. I'm not discounting people that would prefer it to be digital. That's another way to go, but this stuff is what speaks to me.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention your connection to the vinyl world as well, too. You're deeply steeped in the art of history. So, Greg, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you said the fan vote is live now.
Go to rockhall.com and cast your votes. We'll announce the new class in May, and the ceremony will be later this year. But you know what? The museum's open all year long, so if people are taking road trips from Boise heading east, come by and check us out. We're right off Route 90. If you haven't been here, it's an amazing place.
And I think you guys have beefed up a little bit of the digital experience online, right, with COVID and less people being able to travel there for a little while. Isn't it now more stuff available online and updated?
Tons more. We opened up our vaults. There's lots of performances online. And if there's any teachers out there, or if you know teachers, tell them to go to rockhall.com. We have a thing called Rock Hall EDU. We have curriculum packets that they can use immediately in their classroom. It's all free. They just go to rockhall.com and they can use it to teach their class, teach their kids. And if parents are still teaching from home, use it. We want to get the word out, and it's great stuff.
Rockhall.com. Greg Harris, CEO and president of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Thanks for the call, Greg, and congratulations on the new announcements.
My pleasure. Have a great day. Stay warm.